Greetings, brothers. Welcome to the weekly tactics video. Today we're going to talk about possibly the best Blood Angels list that you could run in Arks of Omen if you want to win tournaments. So, without any further ado, let's just get into it. So here we are to talk about Gitli's Southampton GT list, and Gitli has been part of our community for a while, and he's actually the highest rated Blood Angels player in the UK at the moment. He went 4-1, placing 8th out of 192, which is quite impressive, really. I've never been to a tournament that big, but that sounds like a daunting number of players. So we're going to talk about his detachments and his list. We're going to go over strategy, we'll talk about strengths, and then some thoughts on scoring. And what I'm going to do is Gitli was kind enough to write me a couple of paragraphs about every single one of his battles, and I'm going to put that in the video description. So it's going to be quite a long video description, but if you want to get a little bit more depth on each individual game, then please check it out. Big thanks to Gitli for helping me make this video. And if you like it, I've already spoke to John. Gitli's name is John as well. And we will try and get him on the channel maybe after his next tournament, which is a Warhammer World one. Hopefully, maybe he can take this one step further and bring home the W. So, let's look at where he finished. A lot of well-known names up here in the top 8. And he was number 8. 456 battle points from 5 games is impressively high. I just played a tournament where I felt like I did pretty good, and I didn't even break 400 points. So I think 456, based on our secondaries right now, is actually a very impressively high score. I just realised you can't see this 456 because it's right behind my head. There you go. Watch again. There you go. Okay, 456. I've got the points for all his other games on the next slide. Anyway, let's have a look at his detachment. We've got Astrath with Mantra of Strength and Canticle of Hate, so that's basically extra inches in charge, 4 damage weapon on Astrath. Obviously Litany of Hate as well if we need full rerolls, and Astrath also has Massive Doom. I guess that isn't put on this list. We've got Dante, who's the Warlord, so that's going to give us the bonus CP, and then we've put 2 CP on our Sanguinary Priest, giving him both the Teeth of Terra and the Selfless Healer. So this makes him quite good in combat, and I think there's 2 ways you run this Priest. You either give him Armor Indomitus and you try and play him super defensively, or you give him the Teeth of Terra and you play him a bit more offensively. I don't like doing Teeth of Terra. I guess I'm not a good enough player to use that well, and I think Armor Indomitus suits me more, but obviously the Teeth of Terra worked well in this list. We got 3 squads of Infiltrators with Helix Gauntlets. Hard to argue with Infiltrators right now, especially in Blood Angels. You can screen out damn well half of the map, and then you can obviously sticky objectives, and you can do other things like retrieve data or raise banners. Infiltrators are in such a good spot at the moment. The Helix Gauntlet also providing quite a bit of value to them. We've got 2 squads of Death Company with 5 Thunderhammers. We got the Ancient with Rites of War and Wrath of Baal, which means all our jump units are moving faster, or further, I guess. Technically it's faster, but they're moving 14 rather than 12. And Rites of War is giving us OBSEC for core and characters within 6. So everything, bar the Landspeeder, Storm, and Whirlwind, are going to be core or a character. So basically you're going to be able to add OBSEC to just about anything in your list, wherever that Ancient may be. Cool tactic with that Ancient is he can hide off objectives, and then he can heroic onto the objectives because he does have the Sanguinary Guard keyword, and or Sanguinary Guard could heroic onto the objective with the Ancient staying in cover, and then if you do that at the end of the opponent's combat phase, you can potentially have OBSEC troops on their objective and take it away from them. You got 3 squads of Sanguinary Guard, just a couple of Infernal Pistols, a lot of bolters, but a good mix of swords and axes, and personally, if it was me, I would be running more Infernal Pistols, but that's fine. And then we have a 10-man squad of Scouts, and that's going to be combat squadded. Half of them will obviously be in the Landspeeder Storm. The other half could be in reserve, or basically, I think reserve works well, but they could be deployed on the board for deployment if you wanted them. And then we also have the Whirlwind for the Fight Last, Overwatch Denial, as well as the Landspeeder Storm. So we start on 3 CP and 2,000 points. This is a good number of CP to do some Forlorn Fury, and also have some CP for like Overwatch Denial and Interrupts. I like it. I don't think I would want to... I feel like I don't want to start on less than 2 CP. And I guess the question is this the best list that we can run right now? Because I haven't won a tournament in Arks of Omen. and I guess neither has Gitli here, but he is the best in the UK. And Sam over in America or Canada, because I've had Sam on the channel recently, and I've been on Sam's channel as well, he won a tournament with something very similar, with the scout squads and the outflanks from the Landspeeder Storm and the additional movement and stuff that they provide. So arguably, this is possibly, and I think Sam ran the same 3 squads of infiltrators, a variation of this is possibly the best list Blood Angels can run at the moment. I feel like this list is highly dependent on terrain, right? You need enough terrain to basically obscure basically everything, because you're barely doing any damage in shooting. But if you're at a big enough event with like set terrain layouts and good levels of terrain across all the tables, then this possibly is the best Blood Angels list you could run at the moment. Or in some variant of it. I personally have been running less jump units and adding some durable units, and I don't think that's bad. I think I still like that. I think I'm going to continue to play like that. But I guess, like, if you're going to go all or nothing, you want to win an event and you want to win it with a hard, fast-hitting Blood Angels list, then I guess look no further, because here it is. Let's look at the scoring in the secondaries, because this is the thing that impressed me. Is like, he obviously scored, basically, if you average this across, 450 points over 5 games. He's scoring over 90 a game on average. And that's really difficult to do, because Blood Angels don't have good secondaries at the moment. Sorry for the Discord ping, I've turned it off. That was my Discord, if you're watching with Discord in the background. We don't have good secondaries. We have basically Relentless Assault, which I guess is a good secondary, but it's very similar to Behind Enemy Lines. Beyond that, you then have Retrieve Data, and if you pick Data, which you did in all these games, remember you only max 12. There's no way to get 15 points for Data, so straight away you're seeing the maximum you can score in any game is 97. And then, like I said, there isn't a great third secondary here. If you look at his picks, he took No Prisoners, Assassinate, Bring It Down, Assassinate, and Bring It Down. So he stayed away from Oath. Some people don't like Oath. I mean, Oath does not synergize so well with Relentless Assault. I feel like Oath is not a bad pick, but usually if you go Oath, you're going to have something durable that you can put in the middle of the unit, the middle of the table, and by putting something in the middle of the table like that, again, Oath I don't think is an auto 15. I played Oath at my recent event, and I think I averaged 13 on Oath. That was my average. I averaged 11 on Behind Enemy Lines, which is a little less than Relentless Assault. Sometimes scores, and then when I did Data, I averaged, I think it was 8. I think I had... Data can be pretty hard to get 12 points on, and I lost a couple of games, so, I mean, maybe my scoring was a little bit down, but I think that scoring above 90 in 4 games and scoring 87 in a loss is crazy good. So props to Gitli for doing this. If you didn't see my breakdown a few weeks back, I'll put a link to it up above. And that was my best sportsmanship at my GT. And that's kind of completely different to this. But regardless, I mean, I guess it shows that Blood Angels have a problem with picking a third secondary at the moment. Like, there isn't a good choice. I would argue that Battlefield Data isn't a good choice, because other factions have 3 that they can get all 15 on. By picking Battlefield Data, you straight away are going to say, like, 97 is the maximum you could score. So scoring 95, 92, it's really impressive. And I guess those Landspeeder Storms are going to help with those scoring and those scouts. And obviously, I guess, the sheer number of jump units and infiltrators can help with that scoring as well. Interesting to see, like, I sometimes have been thinking over the last little while that Battlefield Data is something that you want to move away from, but it's very difficult. Like, the secondary picks for Blood Angels are not great right now. Codex Warfare is not good. Oaths is average. Yes, Relentless Assault is great, but it's basically the same as Shock Tactics and Bring It Down, or sorry, Behind Enemy Lines. So secondaries right now are difficult. Anyway, let me move on. All these games, like I said, there's going to be a paragraph about each game in the video description, so please check that out if you want to know more. And Gitli's in our Discord as well if anyone wants to speak to him or ask him questions as well. So what is the strength of the list? We have 5 extremely fast mobile jump units with a lot of killing power. That 2 Death Company, that 3 Sanguinary Guard. They also have basically the extra 2 inches of movement. If we're going to do a Forlorn Fury here, we have a ton of options because we can take 5 hammers, we can put them in Assault Doctrine, we can make them +1 to hit, and we can give them Chapter Master rerolls. So basically in turn 1, you can have 25 Thunder Hammers hitting on 3s, rerolling everything. That's like an 88% hit chance. So you're probably going to end up making like 22 Thunder Hammer hits, and then they're probably going to wound on 2s or 3s, and they're going to be -3 flat 3 damage. So those Death Company can trade insanely good, and if I was playing this list, what I would do, if we go back, there was 2 squads of Death Company with hammers like that, right? Turn 1, I would put all those buffs on one Death Company, send them forward. Potentially, if the Forlorn Fury's up, I'm getting to send them forward like 26 inches and charge and trade instantly. I would do exactly the same on turn 2 if there's an opportunity. So like Death Company, and I would hide everything else, right? My whole army would be hidden as best as possible, hopefully having infiltrators and a couple of objectives, and I just use that one Death Company unit to trade, and that's why Shock Assault or Shock Tactics is just as good as behind enemy lines, because you could just trade one Death Company onto one objective in turn 1, do exactly the same in turn 2. You already got 8 points for Shock Tactics. Yes, you've lost both Death Company, but hopefully both times those 25 Thunder Hammers with all those buffs have picked up way more than that cost of that Death Company, right? Like, for example, I was running the Death Company with just 4 hammers, and I was able to smash a Leviathan Dreadnought. So I lose 150 points of Death Company, I kill 220 points of Leviathan, so it's a net 70 point trade. And I've got Death Company in his backfield he's going to have to deal with, he's going to have to spend time mopping up, and I steal his objectives as well. So another thing to think about is if you are playing against Eldar or something, or toughness 3 enemies, you can also Hammer of Wrath when those Death Company charge, which potentially does like 4 or 5 mortal wounds as well. So yes, the 5 extremely mobile Culley units. We then have the Landspeeder Storm, which is going to be very useful for basically some harassment, because he has a bunch of snipers and a Thunderhammer and missile launcher. Relentless Assault, in that basically Landspeeder Storm can move 16 plus in advance, then the guys inside can disembark and then move, so they can move 9 inches on top. So it's very easy to get stuff into the enemy's deployment zone in turn 1, or whatever turn you need it in, really. And also anyone moving will be able to perform actions such as sorry, I don't think you'd be able to disembark if it advanced, but you can definitely disembark if it's moved 16. The Landspeeder, that is. You'd be able to move 16, disembark 3, move 6, and then perform action, and that's going to help you a lot with battlefield data. And I think that's why this could be the strongest Blood Angels list, is that Scout plus the Landspeeders, or the Landspeeder, gives you the ability to get that data in the hard to get quadrant. You know, typically you'll be facing enemies where one quadrant of the board is screened. I played a list where I won the game, but the enemy had like 70 Termagants with the ability to resurrect like 2d6 of them every turn. There was no way I was getting into that battlefield quarter with any sort of deep strike ever. I was going to have to get something to move in there, and just moving over the top of 70 Termagants was going to be an issue for me in my list. So this is where a Landspeeder with Scouts could come in. We've also got Dante as a Warlord, who provides us with more CP. Dante's overcosted at the moment, but so, I mean, even better job scoring so high with this list with characters that are overcosted. You could argue Astaroth's overcosted as well. It's infantry focused, but I added up all the numbers here, and he just comes in at 92 points for infantry. So he's only giving away, or 92 wounds, he's only giving away 10 points if someone takes no prisoners against him, and that would be basically wiping every squad. So I think that's okay, and the Chief Apothecary here is going to help bring some of those squads back to life. The 6-up Feel No Pain can help in some situations. He has the Whirlwind to shut down Overwatch board wide, and also potentially provide some fight last. And the 3 Infiltrators just provide basically more ways to score battlefield data. I mean, arguably you could even raise banners with them if you feel that battlefield data is an issue. They screen so much, and Infiltrators in general, you know, with the ability to guerrilla tactics, and they're not bad now. With the changes of Armor of Contempt, it means if they do charge in turn 3, they're getting like 21 attacks at -1 with a +1 to wound. They actually kill stuff. They didn't kill anything during the Armor of Contempt season. I feel like they kill stuff again now. So with those Infiltrators providing some board control, overall you have the potential to score a lot of points. So what are the weaknesses? Well, we have no durable units, and I guess that would be why you avoid Oath of Moment. because Oath of Moment really requires you to put something in the middle of the board and hold the middle, and that's fine on that's fine on maps that have 5 objectives and basically an objective in the middle. If there's no objective in the middle, I feel like Oath of Moment is a much weaker pick. Oath of Moment should have been changed so you score it at the end of your turn, not the end of the battle round. I don't know why they did that. There's basically no secondaries for any other factions where they score at the end of the battle round, not the end of the turn. So Oath of Moment is just weak, I guess, because it was an older secondary that didn't bother to update. Frustration and bitter I am, yes. Next up, there's very little protection against mortal wounds and psychic protection. I mean, your Death Company have a 6-up shrug, your Priest has a small bubble of 6-up shrug, you've got no psychic protection, as in you can't deny anything. I guess resurrecting 1 model per turn with the Priest helps a little bit against mortal wounds, but if you come up against an army that's going to do a ton of mortal wounds, you're going to maybe suffer here. It's going to boil down to, have you got enough terrain you can hide behind? And then even sometimes that doesn't help because, for example, Amal Scepter for Tyranids don't care about line of sight. So, and I guess Eldar Psychers on their bikes that are just moving all over the place super fast probably don't care that much about line of sight because they'll just move over the top of the terrain. But anyway, that's 2 weaknesses. I feel like every list you make is going to have some weaknesses. At the moment in the meta, I don't feel like there's too many armies that are really focused on mortal wounds and psychic. So I think that's possibly the best weakness to have. But that's the only perceivable weakness, I guess. And then not enough Infernal Pistols, right? Infernal Pistols are free. If it was me, I would be running a lot more of them because they're free. I have changed my Sangre Guard to run all Infernal Pistols. And I am going to rue the day when I have to go back to Angelus Bolters because loads of Infernal Pistols just means loads more dead, big, nasty targets, I think. I love running all Infernal Pistols. I love that they're free right now. So thoughts on scoring. Sometimes when we do this, I look at the list as a whole. I haven't done this for a little while. So this is looking at the list as a whole and trying giving it a score in 5 main categories. Category 1 would be objective holding / obsec. So he's got 3 Phobos troops. We know that's going to provide huge amounts of war control and obsec. And he's got the Rights of War Ancients. So obsec is like 9.5 out of 10. He doesn't have a whole amount of infantry fire. He has some incidental bolter fire from the Sandguard. So I'd say 8 out of 10. It's against chaff infantry heavy lists, you're maybe going to get bogged down a bit and have to use like Sangre Guard to kill them. It's not super efficient. Against monsters or vehicles, I'd say it's like a 9 out of 10. It's going to do pretty well into monster or vehicle heavy lists. If it was me, I'd probably just run more Infernal Pistols and be able to kill even more of those, like, I guess, like Black Templar Dreadnoughts with -1 damage and mini transhumans and stuff like this. Like, I would run more Infernal Pistols. I don't think I don't think Sangre Guard bolters do that much damage against anything. So for me, I would just run more Infernal Pistols. But I understand a lot of people have got them with Sangre Guard modelled with bolters. I do as well, because up until recently, the pistols were too expensive to include. This is a very mobile list. We've talked about how it can be so mobile. It's got scouts and infiltrators. They are the only guys on foot. So overall, let's say like 9.5 out of 10. And then we just talked about some of the weaknesses. There's no Psyker and no durable units. So that is like a 9 out of 10 as well. So overall, this is like a 45 out of 50 list. Anytime you're doing this, there's no way to score 50 out of 50. 45 out of 50 is some of the highest scoring that I've given. And I think that this list definitely obviously has legs. It did really, really well. 4 games, basically averaging 90 points is insanely good. I think it's a high skill list. You need to be experienced running this. You need to be using your combat and your movement to the absolute best of your ability. I have done a video on how to get the most out of the fight phase. I'm going to link that above just now. So please check that out if you haven't done it. I would say this is a harder list to play than the list that I ran. But obviously the reward is there in that, well, you can see here, John won the best general in the bracket. So he got 4 wins, and he also basically this is the UK ITC Blood Angels, and he's number 1 by a mile. I mean, he's gone to one more event than the guy who was second, but he is still miles ahead. Or there's a bunch of people that have gone to 2 events. He's miles ahead. So yeah, high risk, high reward, but also requires high skill. So well done, Gitli. for, you know, consistently over the last year. There's a bunch of events you've done really well in. Thank you for sharing all this. Thank you for sharing the breakdown of your games. And do you know what? I don't think I said who he played against. So he lost slightly to Demons by 4 points. And here's the thing about a 4-point loss: if you were playing like the plus and minus score, you know, like where every 5 points is a differential, that's actually a draw. You have to win by more than 5 points for it to count as a win or a loss. In the, I think it's the, I forget the type of scoring that they call that at the tournaments, but there is a tournament play where it goes on differential. So this is actually a draw. So I mean, it's a loss, but it's such a small loss that it would be counted as a draw. And then the other 4 are all giant victories. We beat Aldari, we beat Admech, we beat Drukhari, and then Admech again. Admech aren't in a great place right now, but then you could argue Admech are 45% win rate, so are Blood Angels. Blood Angels aren't in a great place right now. We didn't get very many point drops in Arks of Omen compared to some of the other factions. And it shows. That's why we are right at the bottom of the win rate percentage. So like I said, this list is going to require high skill. You need to practice with it. Well done, Gitli. I bet this wouldn't have been easy. If this was me by the end of Game 5, I would have had the headache from all hell. I just realised again, I'm blocking the damn scores in that bottom right, so I'm going to turn myself off just for a second. Okay, that's it. I hope this was a useful video. I hope it's given you some inspiration on what you can do to be successful in Arks of Omen. Thank you, as always, for watching. I have been John, the Blood Angels Commander, and I am here every week on YouTube trying to give you some advice to make you a better Blood Angels player, or do some other Blood Angels related content. So if that's something you're interested in, please do subscribe. If you like today's video, you can hit that thumbs up button. It does help me out. The YouTube algorithm is a fickle demon, and I need all the help I can get. And then if you don't want to miss any of my future videos, you can click on that little bell and set your notifications to all. If you don't do that, then you won't get notified every time I do put a new video up. Thanks again for being here. Thanks to Gitli for being awesome and sharing that. I hope to catch you guys next week's tactics video. By the blood are we made strong, brothers. Peace.